My number one coaster, Twisted Colossus, the only dueling RMC. Is it overrated? Maybe. Today's video we will be going in depth and reviewing this ejector airtime machine and answering the question, is it overrated, as well as giving it a score out of 10. Join us as we take a ride on the psychological torture device of pure ejector airtime. When I start off with reviews, I always talk about the queue line and the theming, and I have to say it's pretty pathetic here. You're at a Six Flags park, so that's a given, but I thought there could be a little extra spice there. It's interesting reading the information side of the queue about what movies it was in and highlighting the layout and whatever, but it's really not that much. I am pretty much dissatisfied with the whole steampunk area in general. Like, look at that color palette for Scream, it looks like a burnt banana peel for real. Anyways, once you are up to the station, you will notice the trains. These are your RMC trains. I actually really like them. I have heard people say that they are uncomfortable or the shin guards hurt, and I am a pretty small dude and I find literally nothing wrong with the trains. They do allow for some good airtime with just a lap bar, and the designs of them are pretty fun to look at. The layout starts with the pre-lift section, and my first time going on this coaster, I was surprised at how fast the drive wheels pushed you. My re-rides told me otherwise, but I don't know. The pre-lift section is fun and it gets you excited for the ride. I wouldn't say there's much airtime as some others would say. If you fully focus on it, maybe you can feel some faint pops, but I really didn't feel much. It was just a smooth, fun way to get your energy going. The lift hill is actually one of my favorite parts of the ride, and I'll mention it when you come back around the second time. Predicting and doing the calculations in your head to if you are going to duel or not is super fun. Beyond that, it's just a nice way to get your tan going. The first drop gives a nice pop of sustained ejector. I was so surprised riding this in the back for the first time. I haven't really experienced ejector on this scale beforehand, and my thighs were hurting as I was hurled into the air. It was a good type of pain though, and it was definitely worth it. It just really surprised me. After the first drop, the valley delivers some positives, but not enough to make it recognizable at all. It's also not the defining feature of this coaster, so it doesn't really matter anyways. The little hill in the valley gives a nice pop, and then you are shoved back up another hill. This crest gives some very good ejector before throwing you into an overbank that has some nice ejector. If you are dueling, this high-five moment is amazing and one of the defining features of this ride. You then drop back down, which has some yet again insane ejector along with some head choppers on the support beams. You have a little hill that provides another pop of ejector airtime before going into an airtime hill that has nice ejector throughout it. You then go into a 0G roll, which is one of my favorite parts of the ride, if not one of the best. RMC has perfected inversions, and I love the feeling of being whipped around while not really feeling anything, if that makes sense. Following this, you have a series of bunny hills and some outer banks, and this is where I feel like the coaster loses its pacing. I don't care for these elements, but I guess it's good filler up into the second lift hill. Now, a lot of enthusiasts complain about the second lift hill and how it ruins the pacing and blah blah blah. I don't buy into any of that. One of my favorite parts of Twisted Colossus is going up the second lift hill and rotating my neck like a bird and watching the station. I love to see if the ride operators are going to dispatch on the right time and line up for a perfect duel. Why do I sound like this? It's because I'm craning my neck like I would if I was staring at the station. Oh, and yeah, that's one of my all-time favorite moments on this coaster. I am not going to explain the green side as in depth as I did with the blue side because it is very similar, but I'll go over the highlighting moments. The first drop and all the airtime moments are just as good as the blue side. The double down is good, but I prefer the sustained ejector on the blue side. The 0G stall is another very good inversion that RMC basically perfected. The transition into and out of it is so whippy, and the hang time is a nice break from all the ejector. When you are dueling, this element is of course so much better as you look up in the air and see the green side on the airtime hill. You then have bunny hills back in the station, and this is where I once again really feel like the pacing goes out the window. You still have airtime, but it's not the same ejector you had throughout the rest of the coaster, but maybe it's just a me thing. Dueling makes this coaster 10 times better. This coaster was built to duel, and there are tons of interactions between the two tracks. Unfortunately, the operations on the coaster are key to good dueling, and I have to say they are just not it. The coaster does not have the perfect operations that it once had when it opened, and it hinders the ride experience quite a bit. I have never had the notorious double duel, but I can imagine how amazing that is. I've experienced singular duels, and that is already the best experience I've had on any coasters, so I just have to wait and see until my notorious double duel comes my way. And for the pure insanity of ejector airtime that Twisted Colossus is, it has earned the spot as my number one coaster. The two inversions have great transitions in and out, as well as providing great forces in between. Sitting on the green lift hill is some of my favorite moments of the ride, despite enthusiasts saying otherwise. The anticipation that it builds and the waiting for a duel is very fun. Now to ask the question, is Twisted Colossus overrated? And the short answer is yes. This coaster has been nominated top 10, top 25 in the world, and I just straight up don't think it deserves this title. Looking at other RMCs, I have to say it looks average compared to them. The thing that makes this one the most elite coaster in the world is the dueling aspect, and unfortunately, that's a rare sight these days. I think this coaster has what it takes to contend with the upper tier RMCs, it just needs some better operations to do so. Now, for a final score out of 10, I'm going to give Twisted Colossus at Magic Mountain a 10 out of 10. That is assuming it duels and double duels. It's my number one. What else can I say? I can't give it a 9 out of 10. That would be pretty pathetic. That's all for today's video, guys. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.